Hello, welcome, Robbie. I can see you.
I can see you too.
And I can hear you. It's a beautiful sight. So,
how am I streaming? Am I streaming all right?
I think we're rocking and rolling, man. So, it's par for the course. I think after you've had a lot going on. I think everybody's had a lot going on. Labor Day weekend break, all the fun things. So, we're happy to be back here, episode 22. We're going to try to probably make this somewhat quick, but yeah, that's hard to believe. That's a good number, the old 2-2. So
the old double deuce.
Love it.
Deuces.
Well, the Braves are kind of on their last West Coast swing of the year. It has been rough reacclimating back to the late night times of the games. And it's been a long time since we've been able to start a podcast and actually not have the Braves game playing yet. So that's a new one.
That's true. Acclimating to that is tough because it's like I really want to be close to done with the game at 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
But it's only just beginning. And I make it through the first couple of innings and I'm like, hey boy, this is going to be rough.
Yeah.
So
it takes me back to our early days. I say early days, 5-6 years ago when Ryan was playing for the A's, and he was coming out of the bullpen. So their games would, start at 9:45, 10 o'clock, and he's not coming in until like the 6th, 7th inning. And I mean, I seriously, back then I would go to sleep at like 9:45, 10 o'clock, and then set like an alarm to wake back up at like midnight and see where the game was. There were times, unfortunately, I wake up and he's already pitched,
or miss 3 texts from Drew. Hey, he's warming up. Hey, he's going in. Hey, he did great.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, no, those were dog days, man, for sure.
for those who don't know, our buddy Ryan Dole was a pitcher for the Oakland Athletics, among other teams, and we're all on the East Coast, so that presented some viewing issues.
100%. So
it's all right. Go Braves.
Yeah, for sure. So
Braves could use a right-handed reliever.
They could.
Who throws strikes and.
I will admit, did get a little maybe clickbaity with the title of this episode of "Do the Braves Need a New Closer?" But Kenley has not looked very good. So
it's a worthy discussion. It's a discussion
for sure. Before we get too deep into topics, just real quick, in typical fashion, we'll do a quick Stack Bets recap. For those of you that don't know, we have a friendly competition going on the podcast that we've eloquently dubbed Stack Bets, and it's just a way for us to have friendly competition. We make wagers throughout the week on different things, typically on Braves happenings and how the Braves are going to do. And we've been doing okay. We're starting to get to the end of the season here, so it'll be interesting to see. Moves can be made. Drew currently has a commanding lead. Him and I hit big on our last episode, Stack Bets. We both came away with an additional 250 stacks after some bets that we made. So just to recap those real quick, Barrick on that week. So these stack bets were made on the Monday, August 29th episode. Barrick put up 75 stacks that the Orioles would win both series. That did happen that week. They beat the they beat the Guardians and the Athletics, I believe. That they took 2 out of 3 from both of those series. And then Drew, what's that?
Go Orioles.
That's
Holy
right.
Cow.
And then Drew put up 100 stacks that week that the Braves would win both series, and they did. That week they played. Let me get that schedule pulled up here. They played the Rockies and the Marlins, and they took 2 of 3 from the Rockies at home, and then swept the Marlins at home to come away with both series wins. So he picked up 200 stacks for that bet, and then he bet 25 stacks that the Orioles would win 4 games in that same week, and they did. So that's where his 250 came from. I just went straight for the Braves. I put up 125 stacks that the Braves would win 5 or more games that week. Again, the same week. They did not start the week off great with the loss against the Rockies, but then were able to rattle off 5 straight wins, and I came away with the victory. So unfortunately did not make up any ground on Drew, but hey, 250 was 250. So
didn't lose any, that's for sure.
Right. So as we enter this week, Barrick sits at 270 stacks. Drew, again, with kind of a commanding lead right now with 505 stacks. Kenny still sits at 90, Robbie at 180, and I am currently in second place with 375. So
I gotta come up with like a big all or nothing, like
yeah. That's what all of us except Drew are coming to the realization of that. So yeah, we're gonna have to start coming up with something.
I might need to do some research.
Yeah, we'll have to do some deep dives on that. All right, so that'll take us into kind of Braves talk here. So just quick little recap. We didn't get on last week, but the Braves again did have a good week last week. They took 2 out of 3 against the Rockies at home, and then swept and looked really good against the Marlins that weekend. I would say probably the most impressive game of that Marlins series was the Braves being able to beat Sandy Alcantara on the Friday night game. They end up coming away 8-1 in that game. They tagged Alcantara with 4 runs, I believe. After it was all said and done, you're going to have to beat guys of that caliber throughout the playoffs. Yeah. I mean, you're going to be facing guys like that, pretty much throughout. And they actually got him for 6 through 5 innings, which that's even more impressive, I think, for the offense. So
yeah, I think he came out with a couple of runners on, and they all came. I think somebody hit a home run off the next guy. With I tell you what, Alcantara's been a legit Cy Young candidate all year.
Mm-hmm.
It has got to be difficult to continue to bring that level of intensity.
Yep.
When you are not in it.
Nope.
I think about the level of intensity that's kind of taking steps forward for some of the contending pitchers. When DeGrom pitches, everybody knows it. When Scherzer got hurt, everybody like when Garrett Cole, when these guys are going and they're in races and stuff like that, they know it. But for somebody like Alcantara, who's a lot better than, I'm a Braves fan, but if I had to choose between Alcantara on the mound or like Max Fried, like that'd be a legit discussion.
It would be tough right now for sure.
That would be a legit discussion.
Yeah.
But to have somebody who's like, all right, well, I got 3 more starts left in this year and then it's over.
Yeah.
4 more starts or however many it's going to be. That's got to be tough. And I thought a little bit of that happened when the Braves barreled up a couple. That's why I think it snowballed.
Yeah. Well, and it's got to be hard on him too. And I haven't done the research, and I probably should at some point to kind of back this claim up. But the season, at least from a feeling standpoint, that he's having right now feels eerily similar to the Jacob deGrom Cy Young season when the Mets weren't really in it, and deGrom ended up winning it with a losing record. And it was because he was pitching a lot of 1 and 2 run, ball games. And they just didn't have the offense to give him the run support when he was giving up 2 runs a game. And that's what his season feels a lot like. Honestly, it's like if the opposing team gets 3, they lose. So it's like that's got to be demoralizing as a pitcher as well. And I just wonder how long can you shoulder that amount of pressure every night that if you give up more than 1, odds are you might lose that game.
You can't. You can't forever. Honestly, I hear stuff like that, and I get flashbacks to when we played in our senior year,
mm-hmm.
and if Ryan didn't go out and throw a complete game shutout,
yeah,
and somebody didn't get a hit,
yeah, at the right time, yeah,
with how many of those early games we win 2-0, 3-2,
a lot,
1-2-1, like a lot, and throughout the season that stuff's gonna happen, but like having it continually go, offense is just not giving you anything over and over. It wears on you, and you end up giving up 6 to a really good offensive team.
Yeah. Yep.
Um,
Absolutely.
So, well, a home run hitting offensive team.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later. But
yeah. So again, I mean, the Braves took care of business, which is at this point in the season, this is what you have to do. So that's kind of why that week when I put together the stack bet and we were talking about it on the podcast, they were playing the Rockies and the Marlins at home. That's games that you have to win. I basically, when I put the stack bet out there, was like the Braves have to win 5 games this week, and that was coming off of the Cardinals' disappointing series where we lost those last 2 games of that series. And so my mindset was they got to lock in. And it did not feel great when they dropped that first game of the Rocky series 3-2. And I was like,
now it's back to 3.
Can we put our feet in the ground here? Yeah. And thankfully they did. They won the rest of the week. So that was promising. So
yeah, well,
definitely good.
I'll be honest with you. You piggyback on that. We need to spend a couple minutes talking about the 2 starts that Spencer Strider's had.
Absolutely.
From the last time we talked, because that dude's on another planet right now. I mean, and we had texted about this in the chain. As impressive. Okay. Here's the question: which is more impressive, the 8 inning shutout, 16 strikeouts, or the fact that he threw almost 40 pitches in the first inning against the A's?
Yeah.
On a midday, like weekday, 1:00 getaway game.
Yeah.
And then goes out there and puts up 5 zeros and gets through 6, and they win that ball game.
Yeah.
Still, and strikes out 9.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I think I'm going to still have to lean towards the Rocky start personally, just because I think it's incredibly difficult to strike out 16 batters in a game that you faced. You got 24 outs and you struck out 16 of those 24 outs. Like, I just think that's extremely difficult to do in the profession in the MLB.
I agree. But I think he will use the second start experience more throughout his career than the 16 strikeout one.
Yeah,
it's like,
I would agree.
How do you use feeling great with everything? Like, he didn't throw a changeup. He's like, I don't need a changeup.
Yeah,
they can't hit my fastball. For the first 4 innings, they couldn't hit it, and then he's like, you know what? I'll mix it in a slider now, and it was extremely impressive.
Then it was falling off the table. Yeah.
And that was the Brian McCann, Jeff Francoeur broadcast from the bleachers. That was a fun game to watch. That was a fun game to watch.
Brian McCann needs to get on that more. Jeff Francoeur said it a lot during the broadcast, and I think, obviously they're really good friends, and he would love to have him up there, but he offered some really good insight. And I think catchers always offer really good insight because catchers are the one unique position on the field that they're involved in every single play that happens.
Yeah.
And when they talk, so obviously, we've been friends forever, Drew. Like, I love listening to catchers talk about baseball because their perspective is so different than every other player on the field, because they know the game offensively, they know the game defensively, and they know the game from the pitching perspective. And so for me, just hearing him talk about the game and Spencer Strider's mentality, and then he was also pulling a little bit of shades of Tony Romo, where he was like calling pitches, and he'd be like, "Here comes the slider," and then he'd snap one off, and he'd be like, "Can't touch it."
Yeah.
So
and Frank Gore's over there like, "Well, there you go."
Yeah, exactly. And then they both look at each other like, "What do we need Chip for?" So
it's like, whatever, man. Yeah, as long as the check clears, I'm
Yeah,
fine.
that's right.
I won't say another word. No, I'll be honest with you. And catching is it is a different viewpoint. You're involved in a lot of different stuff. But again, kind of like you said, I having a feel for the game, and it also kind of partnered with who's catching behind a plate with Travis d'Arnaud, another veteran catcher who knows what to do, who understands. Like, I feel like the analytic game can only take you so far there.
Yep.
And Spencer Strider and the Braves and all of this have very much leaned into analytics. However, they understand that there are some things that there is a point there where you got to go with your gut.
Yep.
And balancing that decision-making process. So, like Spencer Strider, yeah, he probably had some analytics that said, you know what, I need to throw the slider more. I need to mix in this. I need to do this. He's like, nah, man. My fastball at the top of the zone, they're not touching this.
Nope. Well, and piggybacking off that just a little bit too, to your slider point and having a feel for the game, Brian McCann shared a really interesting story, and then he shared it because of what transpired in the game. There was a point where the Rockies got a couple guys on base, and a young Rockies hitter came up to the plate. And Brian McCann said that this guy's up there looking to try to make a statement in this game, and so he's looking for the fastball because he knows that's what Spencer Strider's kind of one of his best pitches is. Spencer Strider proceeded to throw him 4 sliders, 3 of which were in the dirt, and the guy swung at all 3 of them. Yep. And Brian McCann shared a story of a game in his rookie season where he came in and it was the same exact situation. And I want to say he said the pitcher was Brad Lidge, so it must have been a series against the Phillies. And
could have been Astros.
Could have been Astros.
Could have been Astros.
Yeah. And it may not have been Brad Lidge. I may be getting some details wrong, but he said there were some runners on base. It was like the 9th inning, 2 outs. You know, it's what you dream for, especially in your rookie season, to drive in some runs, you know, win a ball game, that kind of thing. And he did the same thing. He swung at 3 sliders in the dirt, like 1, 2, 3, game over, you know, tail between your legs. You go back in the dugout. And he said he was getting his stuff together, and he said he was walking into the clubhouse, and Chipper Jones had like tucked himself into like a corridor of the hallway there. And he grabbed him and pulled him into this little section to just kind of talk to him. And he said that he said he asked him one question. And he said, in all of your scouting, as we prepared for this series, what is that guy's best pitch? And he said, slider. And he said, then why did you go up there sitting on a fastball and swing at 3 sliders in the dirt? And Brian said it was just that simple mentality of like, what is this guy's best pitch that he's going to use to get himself out of this situation that he has the utmost confidence in? And he's like, it completely shifted how he viewed hitting at that point and how pitchers are trying to get them out. And like you said, like there is some analytics to that, but there's also –
it's playing the man.
There's a feeling in the game of this kid's going to try to do too much at the plate right now. And if we just literally throw him breaking balls in the dirt, he's going to swing at all of them.
Yeah.
And that has to
be playing the man.
And that has to be a shift, to your point, for Spencer Strider mentality. He's, for his entire life, has probably been gassing people away with that fastball up because nobody can hit it. And so again, that young guy for the Rockies is up there thinking, all right, I'm going to sit dead red on these fastballs, and he's going to groove one, and I'm going to hit it. And, you know, again, having d'Arnaud back there with that feel for the game and saying, nope, we're not giving you a single one is pretty good. So,
I remember this was definitely before analytics made its way into college, but I remember playing in college, and one of the big things – one of the things that was always kind of a bucket list that nobody ever talked about was a pitcher doing a 3-pitch inning.
Yeah.
If you had 2 hitters went up there and got out on the first 2 pitches, as a hitter, everybody's like, hey, take one.
Yep.
Hey, you know, you did not want to go 3 up, 3 down on 3 pitches. You just didn't want to do it. And we were playing a team, I believe it was Longwood when I played at Presbyterian, and they had a hitter. We got 2 pitches or 2 outs really quick. And they had a pitcher or a hitter who was hyper aggressive. And when I say hyper aggressive, like if it was between his shoelaces and his nose, and it was straight, he was swinging at it. Now, he could hit the ball 400 feet.
Sure.
If he got the barrel on it, it was going. And so, more than anything, I think everybody would have said, well, throw him a fastball. Let's see if he swings at it. Because you think, oh, he's going to take. It's the third pitch. He doesn't want to make the third on the third pitch. And I was like, dude, no. This guy's a swinger. He's going to hack. We're going to throw him a slider.
Yeah.
And we threw him a slider, and he popped it up the left field. Okay? It did not end up being a 3-pitch inning because our left fielder dropped it.
Oh, no.
A routine. And our pitcher was livid, and so was I, because we got him.
You got it.
But it's that thing. It's like, like the man. Like they know that rookie. It may not be the same rookie, but that's a rookie.
It's a mentality,
You're in the big leagues now. And so that is the part of the game that I wish we could learn more about at a big league level.
Yeah.
It's like, because I feel like these baseball coaches and these baseball lifers have such a breadth of knowledge in terms of their ability to see things, their ability to get under the skin of their opponents and tell them what they're thinking.
Yeah. No, I mean, I completely agree. Like if you gave me the opportunity to sit in a room with Ron Washington, like that would be unbelievable to just hear that guy talk about situations in baseball and just, again, the stories that you and I are talking about, but at the highest level. Like, it's different. So
it's our Cal Ripken conversation.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and you and I taking full advantage of those opportunities that we had during that summer of hopping in the car and going to pick these guys up from the airport at midnight when nobody else was really wanting to do that, and taking guys through the Taco Bell drive-thru, because they're hungry. They've been traveling all day at 1 a.m. But I mean, the stories that we heard from these guys, I mean, lighting people's cleats on fire in the bullpen and like, all these crazy things that go on. I mean,
I still remember listening to Cal Ripken talk about 3-0 hitting. He's like, man, I always had the green light 3-0. I was like,
how
did you have the green light? He's like, it was the best pitch I was ever going to see. I mean, if I'm not ready to hit that one, I'm not getting another one.
Yeah.
So,
well, and he talked, and what he talked a lot about with that was the pitchers in the big leagues are so good. Like you just said, that might be the best hittable pitch of that entire at bat. And if you just let it go, like, so, yeah.
This isn't Frozen. We don't let anything go.
Right. So,
sorry. I have a 3-year-old daughter for the audience members out there. And so my life right now is
Elsa and Anna.
Disney princesses.
Yep.
I could do a repertoire. I could fill the whole podcast.
But yeah, so I mean, to your point, these numbers are pretty crazy, honestly, when you look at them. Over Spencer Strider's last 7 games, he's 5-1 with a 2.23 ERA. He's pitched 40 innings in those 7 games, so that's an average of about 6-ish. I mean, just under 6. He's given up 20 hits, 10 earned runs. He's had 10 walks and 63 strikeouts, which is just bananas. This is where it gets a bit crazy to me. In his last 15 games, he is 8-2 with a 2.84 ERA. He's pitched 82 innings. He has 126 strikeouts in his last 15 games. That is wild. I mean,
he's gonna get 200 strikeouts.
Yeah.
And he wasn't a starter the whole year.
Yeah, on half the starts probably. So
what's his strikeout total right now? Is he at 170 something?
So he has started. So he's pitched in 29 games and he started 18. for 120 innings, and he has 183 strikeouts.
Oh, he's only got 17 to go?
17 to go.
He's going to at least get two. He'll at least get two more starts.
He might get that tonight. We need him to. We need him to. So, yeah, pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. So the Braves finish up their West Coast swing like we talked about. What's that?
Go for it. I'll ask my question after you finish this next.
So they started the swing with 2 games against the A's in an absolute just crazy game of the first game of that when they pull out a 10-9 victory. There were several times where I was kind of following that game and thought it was over, and then went to bed and woke up the next morning to see that we won 10-9 and was just like floored and had to race to see those game highlights. And then thankfully they end up winning the last game of that series decidingly 7-3 before having an off day and heading up to Seattle, where honestly things got off to a pretty impressive start, winning the first game 6-4 before losing the last 2 of that series 3-1, and then a heartbreaking loss yesterday 8-7. We'll touch on that a little bit more. But the Braves now finish up the West Coast swing, the last one of the season, with 3 games in San Francisco before having an off day on Thursday and coming back home. So yeah, we 100% at a bare minimum have to win 2 out of these 3 games against the Giants, and honestly, a sweep would not hurt. So,
well, if you go 2 out of 3. You go 5-3 on an 8-game road trip on the West Coast. That's good. That's solid. Yeah, that is solid. You will take that to the bank every day.
Yep.
The problem we're struggling with now is the fact that the Mets have basically the easiest schedule.
Yep.
On planet Earth.
Yep.
For the remainder of the season, except for the 3 games against the Braves first days of October.
Yep.
So, but I tell you what. I watched 4 or 5 innings. Yep. I watched 4 or 5 innings of the game George Kirby started, and that dude had our number, man. We couldn't get on his fastball, and we're a fastball hitting team, and he was dotting it. I mean, he pitched very well.
Yeah.
I think Michael Harris established himself as a legit rookie. It was a rookie onslaught. It was, Michael Harris and Julio Rodriguez were impressive to watch that whole series.
Yeah. And Julio in that 9th inning against Kenley walked up there like he was a 10-year vet and said, "There's nothing in your pitching repertoire that I can't hit." And as soon as he hit that pitch, his reaction, the crowd's reaction, that was a playoff game. That was impressive by him. And I guess that can somewhat. Well, go ahead if you want to make that last point.
You're not going to match the intensity level.
No.
Seattle hasn't been in the playoffs in 20 years. It's like one of the longest playoff droughts going right now.
Yeah,
and they're hunting it.
Yep.
And they got young, good players and a really good manager. And
yeah,
you gotta be able to match it. The Braves are, the Braves are doing what they do, which is great, but the intensity, they're not going to be able to match that intensity level just because they showed up.
Yeah, 100%. So I guess that'll lead us a little bit into the, kind of what's up with Kenley conversation. I didn't want to go into this. So again, I kind of joked that I was a little bit clickbaity with the title and all that kind of stuff. I'm not sitting here like Kenley is still, I think, either leading the National League or is second in the National League in saves. So, like, he's had a very good season. So I'm not sitting here like Chicken Little, and trying to cry wolf. But I didn't want to go into this conversation just under the guise of he's had a rough couple games and we're going to sit here and, have this alarm go off that we need to have a different closer in the game. So I did pull up some of his stats so we could have some actual conversation around this. And the big one that I kind of want to pay attention to is really if you look at his last 7 games, not great. But I think when you take the next step forward and look at his last 15, it's not great either. And I think this is where some of the concern is starting to come from, especially from Braves fans who are following the team consistently. So over his last 7 games, he's 0-2 with an 11.12 ERA. He has had 4 saves in those 7 games, which is good. But they have had drama. So he's in those 7 games, he's pitched 5 2/3 innings. He's given up 7 hits, 7 runs. He's had 4 walks and only 5 strikeouts. It just hasn't been good. I mean, he's giving up a lot of runs. But when you zoom out again, like I said, even further to his last 15, he's still 0-2 with a 5.27 ERA. He's had 9 saves in those 15 games. He's pitched 13 2/3 innings, 12 hits, 8 runs, 8 walks, and 15 strikeouts. So, the Braves are not immune to this type of performance from their closers. So, Will Smith was arguably having one of the most inconsistent closings to a season, maybe by a closer in recent memory, and then proceeded to have a perfect playoff run. So, again, kind of somewhat jokingly, do the Braves need a new closer? I don't know the answer to that. It's going to obviously time will tell, but the Braves are now to a point where if they have the lead in the 9th inning, they are not in a position like they were last year to lose those games. We have to win these games if we are leading in the 9th with an opportunity to save it and shut the door. And right now, there's not a lot of confidence that can happen. So that's kind of my take on it right now. So
I would agree. However, if Kenley is healthy, which let's have the conversation with the assumption that he is healthy.
Yeah.
Physically.
Yeah.
The Braves are the best version of the Braves if Kenley Jansen is pitching well in the 9th.
100%.
It has not gone well. However, he's going to pitch. Whether it's the 8th, whether it's the 7th, whether it's the 9th, he is a big part of that bullpen.
Yeah.
With McHugh, Dylan Lee, Minter, Iglesias, Matzik, Kenley Jansen is going to pitch.
Yeah.
And so if you want him to get out of his funk, I think he's got to continue to be the closer.
Yeah.
I think he's got to continue to have the 9th because when he is on,
yeah,
he closed the game against Oakland.
Yeah.
And he looked good.
Yeah.
And so, and here's the next part. You know your man. No, we know Brian Snicker.
Yep.
We know exactly what he's going to do. He's gonna stick with his dude.
Yep.
And so, I do have a couple of questions about. They're trying to throw and pitch and hit and he's trying to command the top of the zone.
Yeah.
And I think there needs to be an analytic discussion because I remember last year Will Smith was really going through the ringer because he kept on giving up the solo home runs and this and that. And it's because everybody was keying on his slider.
Mm-hmm.
And they were clearing their hips. And so he would bury the slider and do it down and in to these righties 6 inches off the plate. And they just clear their hips and go.
Yeah.
And so, I really, when he started throwing his fastball away and he made that adjustment and really started to, he only threw it 93, 94, but he was beating these guys' bats with his fastball and his slider played. I don't know the adjustment you can make with Kenley's arsenal yet. I do know that he has trouble. He has looked like he's had trouble commanding the top of the zone with his cutter.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's a hard. You have to get on top of your cutter to do it, to have a really good cutter. But then you also have to command it at the top of the zone, not the bottom. So he has the arsenal to pitch to both lefties and righties. I think they need to do it to make a better point of commanding the bottom of the zone with it. I mean,
Yeah.
shoot, the cutters that they hit, that Suarez hit and that Julio Rodriguez hit in the ninth inning against Seattle were just middle. They were just in the middle.
Yeah. Oh, the Suarez, like you couldn't have put a T. You could have put a T underneath of the ball and it would have sat perfectly on it. I mean,
if he didn't hit it out, if he didn't put good wood on it, he would have felt like that was my pitch. I missed it.
Yep.
So, to be honest with you, I'm kind of glad I hear him talking, and he's all like when he goes out there and blows it, he's in front of the media. You see it. Brian Sticker's backing him up. I think the Braves are just gonna have to wear this one because Kenley's gonna be the guy.
Yeah,
and I think he should be. I think he should be.
Well, I mean, I think his career has allowed him to earn that. And it is what it is. And like I said, let's not sit here and say that it's crazy. He is second. He's tied for second in the MLB for saves with 33 behind Emmanuel Clase of the Guardians. Now, with that being said, Clase is 34 of 37 and Kenley is 33 of 40. So his conversion rate's not as great, but he still got 33 saves this year. So we can't overlook that.
Yeah.
He does again, his season ERA is starting to creep towards 4, which that's not what you want to see from your closer. So
and now here's the thing. If we want to have a discussion on whether Kenley Jansen is the closer for the Braves in 2023, that's another discussion.
Which I don't think he will be personally, but
no, I don't either. They've got Raciel Iglesias, and I love watching him pitch. Yeah. I feel like they should pitch him a lot more.
He's electric. I hope they're kind of somewhat saving him to be the 8th inning setup guy for the playoffs because
he's so good. Him and Minter, like with Minter throwing in his cutter and then Iglesias and his changeup.
Yeah.
You can really 7th and 8th inning are tight.
Yeah.
Are tight. Tight guys.
Well, and honestly, McHugh, when his stuff is on, that's a 6th inning. So again, we're right back to the same situation we were last year where starters get you through 5, that bullpen is going to be lights out, and that's how you win baseball games in October. So,
but we also don't have to we don't have to do 2 openers in the World Series.
Yeah, that would be nice. So,
let's I think they have to do some tactical adjustments and some arsenal adjustments with Kenley.
Yep.
Whether it's playing the 4-seam to get off the cutter, whether it's spinning the breaking ball to make the cutter more effective, whether it's changing locations, because I feel like a ball running down up in the zone.
Yeah.
I could see that. To me, that doesn't give you a lot of wiggle room for any error.
No.
Whereas Spencer Strider,
yeah,
if his slider is down, it's good. But if he leaves his slider up, it's getting hit, just like anybody else. But there's a lot more room for error with that pitch because of another pitch, because of his fastball. So I feel like Kenley needs to use his other pitch to get off of his cutter, to get people off of his cutter.
Yeah, I agree.
Nobody's Mariano.
No, that's what any pitcher who's throwing a cutter is trying to emulate, and there hasn't been one yet. So now I'm pretty sure Emmanuel Clase is throwing like a 97 mile an hour cutter, which that's a whole different ball game. So,
well, and it may just be the way it comes out of his. May just be the way it comes out.
yeah. So you mentioned schedule, so let's kind of chat just about that real quick. Looking at the Braves' kind of future here, as we talked about, they've got 3 games against the Giants this week, and this wraps up non-divisional games for the Braves this year. So after this game with the Giants, we have a nice little homestand. We got 3 against the Phillies and 3 against the Nats. Before we then take the road and play those exact same teams again, 4 against the Phillies and 3 against the Nationals in Philadelphia and in Washington, before we close the month of September with the all-important and probable division deciding series, 3 games at home against the Mets, before closing the season out against the Marlins on the road, which I wish that series was at home. I feel like the World Series champs should start and end the season at home. But I don't know.
They're gonna get a tough schedule. Here's the thing. The thing we need to keep in the Braves need to make sure that they have the tiebreaker because
Yes.
I don't think what's the Braves record against the Mets? Are we gonna have a losing record against the Mets?
Probably. Because that 6 game or whatever, that 5 game series that we went 4-1, that really hurt.
They went 4-1.
Yeah, I don't know. Is the head to head the first tiebreaker in the division? I don't even. Okay, so yeah, I'd have to look up what that is.
So I think we have to finish. We need to finish a game ahead of them.
Yeah.
If we finish, because I don't think that. I think that's this year, because because of the scheduling crunch. I think that's this year.
What is the division tiebreaker for MLB? If 2 teams are tied for a position, both teams are awarded the ranking as if they held it solely. For example, hold on, that's an NFL. Sorry.
Speaking of the NFL, my fantasy football team lost to Drew. I was so upset. I thought I was going to have it. I got off to such a good start.
You are correct. The team with the better head-to-head winning percentage during the regular season is the first tiebreaker. And then it's the team with the best overall record in intra-division games. So whoever has the best record in the NL East, which the Braves might have that because we have not struggled against the Phillies, Marlins, or Nationals. Wait.
So, but that would be if there's a 3-way tie, right? The first one's head-to-head.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. The first one's head-to-head. Second one is if they're tied head-to-head, they would.
Which they wouldn't be.
They can't. Yeah, they can't because it's 19 games each, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, that's just what it says here. Is if
if there's a 3-game tie, like if there's 3 teams, they would do your division. They would do your whole division. Which.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So anyway,
makes sense.
We'll see. To your point about the Mets, just kind of again taking a look at what they've got. They're currently in a 3-game home. They're currently in a homestand, 3 games against the Cubs, and then they get the Pirates for another 4 games. So that's 8 games against the Pirates in the last 2 weeks, which is ridiculous. But anyway, and then they hit the road and go to Milwaukee and to Oakland, and then they get a 2-game set against the Marlins before they come to Atlanta for that same weekend series, and then they finish the season at home. Against the Nationals, who they have struggled against. So who knows? We'll see.
How far ahead would you want? What's the range in which you want the Braves? Like the closest you would like it to be going into that series. Like I think the Braves need to go in to be within striking distance. They need to be within a game or a half a game.
Yeah.
Going into that series. Like to me,
winning 2 out of the 3 against the Mets needs to give the Braves the division lead.
Yeah.
So you're 2 games. So or you're 1
So if you
game.
won, yeah, 1 game.
So 1
You
game
need to
back,
be
I
within
think, is
1.
the most. I don't think we need to go into that series needing to sweep and help. That I don't feel great about that. So,
Oh,
in
yes.
good news right now, though, the Cubs are beating the Mets in the top of the 8th,
Well,
5-1. So,
okay, going to the top, going to the 9th. The Mets just had bases loaded
oh boy,
and nobody out. Holy cow. How did they get out of that? Bases loaded, nobody out. And Mark Canha struck out. Eduardo Escobar flew out to center. No run scored. And Darren Ruff just lined out to right field. Oh,
woo!
way
Come
to
on,
go,
Cubs.
Cubby.
That's
Way to
right.
go, Cubbies.
um, so that would be big if they can pull that off. But again, it just means the Braves need to win. So as it stands right now, the Braves are 1.5 games back in the division. So again, a Braves win tonight and a Mets loss puts that back at a half a game, which would put us, right on track with where we need to be.
If the break, that would be so much. Honestly, because you got to know that the Braves clubhouse is thinking, oh, they're playing the freaking Pirates again. It's
yeah,
like if they can walk them down, playing the Mariners and the Giants and the Phillies, like good teams. It's
yeah,
like, come at me, bro. Come on
yeah,
in here. We'll show you what's up.
yeah, no doubt. The Braves are sitting pretty comfortably in the 4 seed in terms of playoff rankings. And as it stands right now, if the season ended today, the Braves would be playing the Phillies in the first round wild card, which I don't love. We talked about that
I
on the
hate
last
that.
podcast. I don't.
I wish they would change that.
I also don't want. I wouldn't want to face the Padres either, to be honest. I mean, that offense is,
I'd much rather face the Padres.
yeah,
You hate playing teams in your conference.
yeah,
Like I remember we were in when I worked for UVA, we were in uh, Omaha, and there was a chance that we would have gotten to play Miami in the winners in the final to go to the World Series versus Florida. And I remember our pitching coach saying, "You do not want to play a team you've already played in
yeah,
the tournament. You don't want to do it. You would much rather. I know Florida's better. I know they got better players, but you do not want to play a team that knows you in the playoffs."
yeah,
So,
yeah.
and it
So,
worked. We won a
yeah.
national championship. So,
Yeah. We talked about that a little bit. Barrett kind of brought up the question of like, the Braves having a good enough team. Like, does it necessarily matter if the Braves win the division or not? And my kind of point to that was, one, you get the bye. You don't even have to play in the first round because the way it's looking right now, whoever wins the East is going to be the 2 seed. So you would get a bye, which means
yeah.
you just get to rest. Which again, we've had conversations of whether or not that's good or bad. But anyway, I think the wild card series is going to be so short. It's going to be like 4 days of break, which again, is what it is. But nonetheless, my whole argument is the pitching doesn't match up. And what would end up happening is if we win and then the Cardinals win that series, then the Braves now have to go face the Dodgers in the next round, and our pitching isn't lined up. And that's my problem. So if the Braves Mets would be the 3 seed, it would be different. I don't know if it would matter, but I think having to go up against the Dodgers with your potential 3rd or 4th starter game 1 versus their number 1, that I don't like that matchup. So
Me neither.
So that's kind of my whole argument for the Braves really making the push to win the division is it just
Yeah.
sets up the pitching a lot better and it guarantees not having to face the Dodgers before the NLCS. Again,
Or the Mets.
I know we're looking way ahead, but
The Mets.
Yeah.
Let's. I'll be honest with you. If you're gonna play a 7-game series against the New York Mets, you're going to see Scherzer twice, and you're going to see DeGrom twice.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to beat one of them once. And I would rather face the Dodgers starting pitching than the Mets starting pitching. So I would very much like to see the Mets play the Phillies and go Nola and DeGrom and Wheeler and Max Scherzer and just have them all go wear each other out.
Exactly.
And hang out and wait.
Yep. Absolutely.
Now, do they reseed after the wild card round? So if it's the 3 and the 6 and the 4 and the 5, so say a 6 or a 5 win, do they reseed it? So
I think so.
The lowest remaining team plays the number 1.
I think they do. I don't think it's set in. I don't think it's set in stone. Unless, I mean, I'd have to. I don't necessarily know 100% that for 100% fact. I would have to kind of go through it. No, it does say. It does say the NL lower wild card winner at the NL division number 1 winner, and then it's the NL higher wild card winner at the NL division 2 winner. So they will reseed it.
Okay.
So in your talk right now, if the Padres upset if the season ended today, if the Padres upset the Cardinals and then the Braves beat the Phillies, then the Braves would have to go face New York as New York being the 2 seed, and then the Padres would go face the Dodgers as the 6 seed. Which I don't like that matchup either. So, like I said, I think it's super important that the Braves win this division.
Very, 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 very. Well, Scotty.
Yep.
Let's bring this plane in for a landing.
Yep. Just as a quick recap of things, give the Orioles a little bit of love. They've had a tough little go here. The Boston series did not go great. They lost game 2 of that series 17-4. So, just kind of all over the map. So again, Barrick is normally our Baltimore kind of go-to. So, the main thing that the Orioles are fighting for right now is just the wild card spot. They're 5.5 games back. So, I don't know. That's a tough hill to climb. We are in one of my favorite parts of the season now, though, where on your standings board, they've added the elimination number. I love seeing that update every day. It's a lot of fun. So the Orioles, which none of us would have predicted at this point, A, that they would have a winning record, and B, that they would not have been eliminated by this point, let alone have 18 games before they're eliminated. So the Orioles are very much still in the talk. They've got a huge series coming up this weekend. So they have an off day today before going to the Nationals to play 2 games. Got to win those. But then they go to Toronto for 3 games this weekend. And that's a team that's above them in the wild card race. So they have to win that and bring that home here. So big series this weekend for the Orioles in Toronto. I don't want to say make or break on their season, but I think it is. If they don't win 2 out of 3, that's going to be tough hill.
That's the thing, though, is those elimination numbers. It's a double-edged sword because if it's 18, you lose to the team in front of you. Then it's 16. Then it's 14. And then it's like,
it's quick. It happens quick.
Yep. Whoa. Excuse me.
Yep.
Excuse me.
We shall see what happens with the Orioles. We're going to continue to root hard. I'll say this podcast would be a whole lot of fun if we had the Braves and the Orioles in the postseason come playoff time. So we're fighting hard. Barrick is cheering hard, and it's a lot of fun. So
the young birds.
Love it.
So my brother-in-law is a Nats fan, and was a Nats fan, and vowed them and disowned them after they traded Juan Soto. Not gonna deny that, but he's like, I'm gonna be a Mets fan now. Like I like the Mets.
Oh,
I'm
Lord.
like, you're from DC. Like you grew up rooting for the Orioles. The Orioles, the Nationals came to DC when you were 18 years old.
Yeah,
it's like Why not root for the Orioles? They're in it.
Yeah, you can't go to somebody in your division. Like that's.
I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Don't
That's
do
funny.
that. Don't
That's
do
funny.
that.
I like to say that we kind of beat Baseball Tonight, ESPN, and all that stuff to the Pujols home run watch because we started doing this when he was at like 691.
He's so good.
He's now up to 697. He has surpassed A-Rod, which a lot of us were pulling for on the podcast. He now sits, I think, fourth overall by himself. I want to see him do it. We went into the details of this a couple weeks ago. I honestly, I don't know right now if any current players will come close to 700 based on what we kind of looked up and saw. And so this may be our kind of last shot for the foreseeable future of seeing this happen. So I'm pulling for it. I think it would be great for baseball. It would be a lot of fun. So I'm tuning in pretty daily right now, kind of for the Pujols home run watch. So would love to see him get to 700. He's got, for all intents and purposes, 3.5 weeks to hit 3 home runs. So
it's just one a week.
He has kind of said that he would not come back, but if this guy finishes the season at 699, like, you cannot tell me he would not come back for a month. A month to hit 1 home run and then literally, like walk this thing off. Like,
they've got the DH.
I know.
Come on, Albert.
Yeah, like,
I'll tell you what though,
Mr. 3000 this thing and just hit it and retire.
What's it? What it's who is it? Who's it? Marmol? Is he their manager?
I think so. That sounds right.
He has done a phenomenal job of like putting him in pinch hitting and like putting him in situations where he's got a chance to go get it.
It's trying. Like,
love
it. They're trying.
LOV.
We're not going to get too deep into it. Players of the week this week. I went Mike Trout. He's homered in 7 straight games. He's playing out of his mind right now. He last week hit 375, 4 home runs, 7 RBIs. Again, unfortunately, the Angels have already been eliminated from the playoffs. So this is another year Mike Trout is not going to be in the playoffs, which is just, again, bananas, but is what it is. Yet to play a playoff game in his career.
The wild card game. That wild card game. Ohtani, you think? I hope they figure it out.
I do too. Pitcher of the week, Shane Bieber. He had 2 starts, went 2-0 with a 1.26 ERA, pitched 14.1 innings, gave up 9 hits, only 2 runs, but he had 14 Ks and 2 walks. So kudos to him. Brandon Woodruff, he had 2 starts, 1-1. He had 16 Ks. Trevor Rogers for the Marlins, he had 2 starts, had 17 Ks in 12 innings, so honorable mentions, but I think Shane Bieber kind of takes the win there. Corbin Burns, give him a shout out. He did have a start, 14 Ks in 8 innings. That's not bad either. So, cool. Since we don't have a full roster here, we'll save stack bets and we'll update the show notes with what everybody fills in for this week. So be sure to tune into those show notes down below to see what the stack bets are for this week. So we definitely look forward to those. So Rob, that brings us in here. Kind of our new last segment that we've kind of coined here. Just any last words, anything you're looking forward to, excited about for the week, fun things of that nature.
Well, I got to give a shout out to my 2.5 week old baby.
Love it.
Renwick Thomas Swab. Doing great.
Sleeping good.
Eating like a champ, pooping like a champ. Not sleeping at all, which is great. And his big sister, Alden, has transitioned relatively well.
That's good.
Big changes here. Got a new baby. Alden's going to school for the first time this year, and moving to our new house in 2 weeks.
Ooh, man, that's happening fast.
We jumped in the deep end.
That's right.
We jumped in the deep end. But yeah, honestly, I'm excited to watch the last few weeks of baseball. Excited for the weather to break. Excited for college football.
Yep.
My father-in-law told me that this is the first time first ever time that all 4 ACC North Carolina schools are 2-0 to start the season.
Nice.
Duke, North Carolina, Wake Forest, and NC State. So,
yep.
Football, ACC football is good. I just wish that they would be more exciting.
Yeah, I hear you. Wake had a big win this weekend against Vandy. So
Virginia stunk
again. Yep.
So lots of exciting things. I am ready for the weather to break. I'm ready for fall now.
Yep.
I'm ready for flannel shirts and jeans and sweatshirts and turning the heat back on. I'm ready for it.
Yep. I agree. Fall is my favorite time of the year. The weather, not to rub it in your face at all, but the weather has broken a little bit here in the mountains. So, I think it was like 64 today was the high here. Now we did come back from Myrtle Beach today, so I've seen both ends of that spectrum. So it was like 92 with 99% humidity today.
Right.
And then we got home and it was like 61 with no humidity. So definitely love that. Excited to be back home. App State, my boys had a big win this weekend. That was a lot of fun watching them pull off the win against Texas A&M.
Bigger upset that over Texas A&M or over Michigan?
Michigan's still the big one. We were not supposed to be close in the Michigan game at all. They were still an FCS program. Michigan was picked to win the national championship that year.
Texas A&M is 6. Like
they are. They are
not
anymore. Not anymore. But I think App is literally an overthrow in week 1 against Carolina from being 2-0 and beating Carolina and Texas A&M to open the season. Unfortunately, we obviously can't say that, but if you would have told me that we would have been 1-1 after opening against Carolina and Texas A&M, I would have taken it no matter who we beat and who we lost to. So I'm not unhappy.
No. But here's the next part. Do you also hear Jimbo Fisher's comments about App State or what in his post-game interview?
I didn't hear post-game, but I heard pre-game.
No. Like post-game 1.
Oh, yeah.
He was like, this is a good football team. They got this and that and the other thing, and they got this quarterback and this guy who can run. I mean, like, he was like, this is going to be no joke.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay.
Yeah. And, I mean, Chase Bryce, he gets a lot of flack from the App fans, but I mean, that dude was recruited to go play at Clemson, so he was obviously some kind of athlete.
Was he at Clemson?
Yeah. He went to Clemson and then he transferred to Duke, and then he entered the portal again and came to App from Duke. So, I mean, he's no joke of a quarterback, and I mean, he showed it. Now we run a lot. I mean, App is a running football team, but he knows how to make the throws. He makes them, and again, unfortunately, he didn't make the one against Carolina. So that is the difference of us being 2-0 right now. But anyway, the bigger news is College Game Day coming to Boone. That's super exciting. I have no clue what that's going to do to the town. So
you gonna try to go?
I think so. So we'll see what happens. It's the last time I was at College Game Day. South Carolina pulled off the upset of old number 1 Alabama in 2011, I think is when that was, 2010.
Oh, my gosh. When was that?
I think it was 2010 because we also went to the Braves-Giants postseason game that season. So, that weekend.
Who was the quarterback at South Carolina? Garcia? It was the guy who got kicked off the team.
Yeah. All I remember really is that Greg McElroy was the quarterback of Alabama, and that supposedly was his first loss ever. He had not lost in high school. his whole 4 years in high school, and that was his like first or second season at Alabama, and he had never lost before, is what they were saying. So that's crazy. So anyway, super exciting. Again, college football back, postseason baseball, super stoked as always as well. So it's just kind of one of those things. So sweet. All right, Rob. Well, I appreciate you joining us and joining me tonight, I guess. We appreciate everybody joining us out there in podcast land. As always, as we wrap up, if you have any questions or comments or segment ideas or anything you want to engage with us, please feel free to email us at first2thirdpod@gmail.com. That's the word first, the number 2, the word third, and pod@gmail.com. Also, be sure to check out our social media links down in the description below. We're over on Twitter and on Instagram. So feel free to engage with us there. We appreciate any support. And as always, here on YouTube, we appreciate if you would like and subscribe to the channel. Helps us out a lot and will help us bring some more quality content to you here in the MLB land. So again, we appreciate you tuning in tonight, and we look forward to catching you next week. Peace.